Hello all. Yeah, season 1 round 2. The typing in a second is me adjusting the title. But yeah, season 1 round 2 of the Slipstream Racing League No Assist Division. So yeah, while we wait to load into qualifying, I am just changing title, so it's actually season 1 round 1, because currently it says season 4 round 2. That should now be fixed. And now I'm gonna promote. And now qualifying has started. Here at Las Vegas, who's going to be first to come out? It looks like it's Tropic in the Haas, who I've spoke to a fair few times before outside trying to get him into my own league, but yeah, out he comes. As you can hopefully see, the track is now beginning to fill up. I'm going to convert this to the headset at least. But yeah, who should we go to? We'll go to Tropic, as why not? There we go. That's all my comm settings up. Just sorting my disc out a bit while we wait for the first run. But yeah, now down Las Vegas Strip during Sector 3. I am now ready for first run, and here we go. We are on board with Tropic. The reason why I say on board is because I will go into the TV pod cam, and into T1 you see he gets nice and wide, great turning, keep to the inside because you want a nice wide run through turn 2. Don't touch the curb, just instead breeze outside, and now DRS wide open, as you can see. And at the end of sector 2, first sector completed from anyone, and it's a 26.0. Question is, will it be quick enough to be in the top end? Possibly, as he just chucks it through the chicane, like it's all dependent on it. And now keep to the inside, just basically slightly turn the wheel. And now heavy left onto the long district of the circuit, and the straight which holds the top speed record on this current calendar. But yeah, DRS again, wide open. I'm gonna turn off all my motors as through the chicane goes, gets nice and tight, and that's a really decent run. It's a similar pace to what we were seeing on Saturday, where I had to disappear mid race to babysit. But yeah, it's a 31-3, and we're already on the board as Psycho and Camille have all gone slower. So he's fastest. Race Brower also goes behind. What about his teammates in the American factor? And it's second. Tropic will be fastest man for now, as the Alpine's coming around, who however tune on board with the Aston Martin, who's going through the final sector on the Inters, which is a bold statement. Probably get a bit more practice in, is best way to say it. But yeah, Newman goes 6th, and then John Sheck goes 7th, as Blunty slots himself 8th on the Inters, only 2 seconds off fastest at the moment. It says a lot about the track differential here. But yeah, we also could hold quite a lot to come, as we will go on board with CPI as a Lucky High Ones trend session, who is already out. Cooley goes fastest by about 6 tenths. And what can the CPI do? He's the second Red Bull. Will he be second on grid through the final corner? Yes, it will be second on grid for now. Just ever so slightly quicker than the two Hasses. So it looks like that's going to be the main fight. Red Bull versus Haas here, as Cooley looks to be the man who has to be beaten. Question is, who will beat him? As one of my fan favourites, Hero Milan, saw him in Abu Dhabi like a week or two ago. He had decent pace, even though being on the wrong strategy, as Kaname has joined a bit late. Probably going to start last and see what damage he can do. As there's 12 minutes left of the session. For whoever is in the chat, there's only 2 of you. Give a shout at your pole position if you want. I'll give you mine. I think it will be Cooley. It's either him or Tropic. As Hero Melon goes purple middle sector on the mediums, as Kaname has joined the actual qualifying session and will be expected to come out within the next 3 or so minutes, if I am correct, but who knows. As through the final corners he goes, nice and aggressive, but not too aggressive he exceeds track limits. And now the run to the line, what lap will it be? It looks really good. It's actually good enough for P5. If you put it on the softs, that's easily P2 for the Ferrari. As we are going to tune in with Micro Mash in the Alpine, the BWT shining bright under the lights here of Vegas. As you've seen a hashtag I haven't put in to the description. To be fair, I don't do description work, but yeah. And through final corners he goes. Gets a bit of debris kicked up there on the curb. And now pushes all the way down straight. What can he do? It looks like a half decent attempt. He goes third and puts himself right up the top end of the pecking order. Kaname still yet to come out, as Newman's also out as we speak. We are going to join the other Alpine of Alpha Galley, who's on an out lap, but regardless of that, could be a driver of high potential in this session, especially as we are now within the final 10 minutes, as CPI beats his teammate now and goes from second best to the best Red Bull on track. Will anyone else want to challenge him? Possibly Tropic, who I want to say is the Haas guy in Sector 1. That's a guess, but who knows? We'll find out if he goes fastest or not in a second, as there's a Haas going up to the final corners. We are still with Gully. And is it that Haas? No, it's Mr. Hollywood. So yeah, I was right with what Haas it was. And now we ride actually on board with Gully. Lap has started, already getting nice and wide, probably pushing the outside turn 1 a lot more than everyone else has been, and just keeps that momentum coming through turn 2. Has a little twitch there, but that's probably to readjust his line and get the best exit possible, which I think he has had a really good one of. And now the RS back closed as he hits the apex beautifully and goes about 3 times quicker than what Tropic did. And it says purple sector 1, but there's a little snap under braking. Could possibly forfeit him some time as he goes through the smoke of a lockup from the Aston just up ahead, who I want to say is Blunty. As the Aston lets the Alpine by, yellow in sector 2 as he jumps the curve very aggressively, still showing he wants it. As he goes purple middle sector, could this be a really good track for the 2 Alpine drivers? Who knows? I'm definitely going to put my money on one of them, because they seem really decent. As through the final 2 corners goes Gully, well not 2, 3. Sorry for that, but yeah, as Gully heads up to the line now, what will it be? It's going to be fastest lap of the session by half a second. Boy oh boy, we are in for a treat. As we are back with Tropic, who's currently going through sector 2, is there going to be any major improvement for him? Because P5 can definitely be improved upon, regarding he has some mediums sitting in P4. And talking about that medium runner, he's there. If you ride on board with him, the car you should see in about 2 seconds, which is that car just ahead who's just gone under the bridge, is actually this guy, who we are now back with, as it's Tropic. Brake at about the 125 he did, but still chucks the car relentlessly over the curbs. Surprised drivers aren't getting suspension and floor damage, but in comes Tropic. He's decided his lap is not good enough and will back out. As question is, who should we follow? I'm going to do Lemmy, as he's 4 tenths up on what he's done so far. But how much will he find across the line? And it goes P4. He's found half a tenth in general, but still 9 tenths off pole. As Newman is invalid. And Blunty, 2.1 seconds up. Well, 2.2, if you round it right. Could this be a really good lap? I think so, as he comes over the line, and it will be second, and now the closest competitor of the Alpine, purple final sector as well, showing that Aston really has done top speed, which we didn't anticipate this weekend, as Kaname is also out on track, who is a big name, especially in my live streams of this league. He tends to be up top end, and I think he does have the pace to keep that momentum in this no assist event. As through sector 2, what does he set? He goes through the final corner of it, and he is 1.1 up. That's only looking for P15 still, so there is quite a bit to find still. As down the back straight he goes. There's a Williams. That's a very late pull-off line. That's really compromised Kaname, and arguably that is impeding, in my eyes, from Psycho Lemmy. which hopefully should be should be investigated after the session, as Konami only goes 14th. The McLaren really being back on the back foot. As we are about to tick into the final 4 minutes, as we are with Rumax, who is going through the final sector, who is 8 tenths up on what he's previously done. That's looking for about P10. It's alright for Sauber, but is that what he wants? As Hermelin is now on soft, I'd really want to watch his lap, because who knows what's going to happen with him. He's shown massive promise, as Rumax has gone invalid, and I believe it's CPI on a lap. Yeah, going through final few corners, he's just picked up the Slipstream of the Ferrari down Las Vegas Strip, meaning I'm not going to be surprised if the Red Bull goes back on top here in the dying embers of this quali session for the final corner. And he's only 4th, but it's a purple final sector for sure, as Harry Mellon now starts his possibly final run. A brief lock-up in entry, but keeps it in line with the pit and exit line, and just swoops around through turn 2. DRS now back wide open, and he powers it down this miniature straight. I'm saying miniature because if you look at every other straight segment, it's a longer. But yeah, he is very briefly improving in sector 1, as there's a lock-up into that chicane, which he arguably aces, gets right against the white lines, and that's beautiful from technique from the Ferrari, showing some serious promise from the car in red. As he just chucks it in. Davory kicks up from the floor as he goes 3 tenths up on what he's currently at. This is probably the sector where the mediums will be less impactful against softs, because it's a straight line, but who knows. So that's basically saying the Ferrari doesn't have much more pace left in him, but surely he'll find a tenth or two through here, as he really chucks the car. It looks like he actually went over the white line, but he's just managed it to perfection. They are the fine margins you need in the world of esports, and that's the margin you need to push yourself 2 tenths up and still P5. As who should we look at? Probably Tropic, who's just started his lap. I'm a big fan of him in terms of his league racing stuff. I tend to watch quite a few of his league streams most of the time, this league in particular, so grateful to be commentating again in this league. They must have loved me for me to make 3 appearances, but yeah, Tropic is improving, and as we saw with the Ferrari, it's barely anything being gained, as that lockup really chucks him in par. But off is a Ferrari. We will go to Psycho to try and see what happened, but no, he's being teleported back to the garage, as Alpha has just tipped it into the 129s. First breakthrough of the 130 bridge mark, and Tropic still barely gaining. Doesn't look like he'll get up to P6, but it really comes down to how much battery he has. It looks like he's burned quite a lot up in this lap though, as Konami's on an outlap, so we will tune straight into the McLaren as the Ferrari gets out of the way, literally right there on the apex, as Konami's gone off. The McLaren's off, and he spun the car back round as Tropic races up to the line. What is it going to be? It's a big improvement, and it's up to 6th. He's done a 131 flat as well, which says a lot for a driver like him. And now Konami starts his final push lap of the session. Question is, where will this McLaren stack it on the grid? It's very tight. That's a technique we hardly see. Gets very tight in the second corner. Really trying to find that extra time by travelling a shorter distance. As a lock-up, he helps turning here. He also locks up again as it comes to the exit, and he's half a second down from where he was a lap ago. So I don't think he will actually find an improvement. As there's a Haas off, it's Mr. Hollywood who has found the wall and now retires from session. Let's go to Micromash, who's invalid though. Really difficult to find someone on the valid lap. Heromelon ever so slightly gaining. If he can find the 10th here, he's surely going to put himself up into the top 5. There's a massive jump and a massive snap through the chicane. Push to Lion, who would have hoped for the Alpine to got closer. But yeah, it will be P5. And literally 1,000th of a second off the Red Bull in P4. As the last man on track to cross the line is Kaname, who's made up the ground he lost in Sector 1. But that's probably not what he would have hoped, as he goes 15th. So yeah, that's unfortunate for Kaname, but there's your grid. Alpha Gully, Blunty, Curly, CPI, Heromelon, Tropic, Lemmy, Micromash, Milu, Mr. Hollywood, Race Brower, Rumax, Newman, John Sheck, Kaname, Infinity, and then Lucky High One. Well, unlucky for him, no lap and at the back. So that's a double whammy for him. As we now wait for the grid to form. For those in chat, who do you think will win? I've definitely got my money on the Alpine. I think he will convert pole. As based off the pace differentials, it seems to be a less competitive tier than the champion tier we commentated on Saturday. Where, of course, I'll keep reminding you, I did disappear. So this is a make-up round. But yeah, you can see all which have gone down from champions tier in the previous stream for at least the most part. But yeah, my first race commentating the no assist division, and we are still waiting. So quick plug, subscribe, like it, share it with your mates, and if you want to join the Slipstream Racing League, it's ideally PlayStation and PC, but then some Xbox users are allowed if they are quick enough. And just post a comment after the live, basically saying you want to join, and then I'll try and get you in. But yeah, any minute now, we should see them line up on the grid in the full beauty that is produced from the array of colours up and down the pecking order. Of course, it looks quite bland at the front with the dark greens and blues, but then it brightens up at the back with the very vibrant greens and oranges of the McLaren and Saubers. But yeah, you can tell I do a creative subject at college based off my analytics here over colours. But yeah, that's enough of me pissing about. And now, well, I say now, should be within 30 seconds, we should be racing. And there's my sister tapping in, screaming at parents, because the Skittles bag has dropped. And hopefully, they will drop the checkered flag in a minute. Well, no. You still have about 25 laps of action here to dictate that. Yeah. It's now gone 7:30. As they have been given the get-go by the owner, as we are now on the grid. My audio has just cut out, but yeah, that's out, and away we go here at what's its name, Vegas. And yeah, it's a nice and early start. The Aston gets a nice jump though on the Alpine and takes an early lead. The two Red Bulls dueling with the Ferrari just lurking in the background. As you see down the straight, the Red Bulls just slot into formation as it looks like it could be free wide there. As the Ferrari and Red Bull have collided, the Red Bull keeps it running though. As you see back here, Newman, Rumax and Brower look cool to possibly go more to ill, as they do through the chicane. Get all out nice and peacefully though, as Alpha Gully back up into the lead though, after fairly hectic first sector. There's your optimal strategy, medium to hard or medium hard, which is quite ballsy and probably not worth it. But yeah, will there be any places made up here? Really looks very close and very threatening. So does Brower and Newman. As you can see just up ahead, there is an overtake brewing for Cully, but that's shut down quite easily as there's Milu, who I did say could be making the move, does so. As Konami is dropping off, he's not really on par. As a Ferrari, as a McLaren's, not Ferrari, not a McLaren, a Mercedes has gone round. As that's a lucky high one, his luck just keeps getting worse as he gets further back, and as the last one. But yeah, now he's got back round and hopefully back going. As cars are going everywhere, as there's a bold lunge by Lemmy, and now they've just dropped down. Newman's gone off. There's more debris. Not going to be surprised if it's a safety car at the end of this race. But there is now Williams on visual damage and limitation. No front wing. Well, half a front wing, but yeah. As Blunty is now third, who was second on the grid, got up to first in turn 2, and he's dropped since. But yeah, what can Blunty now do? Is probably prime time to overtake, as DRS is now open, but so it is for the Red Bulls either side of him. And then Hero Man just drops off that pack as Micromash moves up to P5, as off goes the Haas of Mr. Hollywood and into the wall. That's even more damage, as Konami's also locked up and gone into a wall. There's mistakes everywhere. As Cully goes fastest, Hero Man limps into the pits. So does Hollywood. Wait, sorry for that interruption, but I am back. And Newman has left the session, as Harrimelon has decided to retire from the race as a lucky one 40 seconds back, as Tropic gets overtaken by Milu in the Sauber. As you see back there, the V-Carb and McLaren going at it. V-Carb looks down the inside, race Brower, but Kaname holds on. And then there's still the Williams with wing damage, just trying to make it out as long as he can. As he should be quicker in a straight line now, with less downforce. Cooley now in a decent position. He's got a decent run as it's a Alpine 1-5, Red Bull 2-4. If you look at it from the championship's point of view, Alpine are leaving it with 5 extra points than Red Bull. If you are the typical F1 system, which I'm not 100% sure what system this league uses still, because I've seen absurd numbers in other tiers, so I don't think it's the actual system. But yeah, Cooley now looking at a move on his teammate CPI possibly, as Blunty goes fastest on lap 4. He's highlighted it all purple now, as you can see on the track map. But now DRS wide open for the Aston. Is this going to be his golden stint? As he starts to find some momentum and places. As the leaders on hards, these are mediums, it's going to be an optimal chance to get the lead early on. But then question is, what's the reason the Red Bulls failed to? Is it top speed? But if so, then Blunty should surely get it. As off goes a Mercedes, it is Infinito who's made his way back round and back up to the leaders, as this is going to be a very important moment in this race. Will Blunty get it? He's got a good enough run on exit. He's already pulling up alongside, but he slots him behind. Now DRS enabled, and he is pushing, gaining, and there he goes. He's ahead before braking, and now he's gonna have to be on defense unless he can just drop the ball now and pull away. As Psycho Lemmy now drops behind the V-Carb, as the lucky high one seems to have binned it again. He's round on exit of turn 1. Now as a lap car basically, as let's be honest, his luck can only get worse. I'm gonna keep repeating that joke because, yeah, why not? As now, this could be crucial for Blunty. If they can get within a second of lucky high one, they'll get DRS and be able to hang on for a lap, as Lemmy has just dropped it. Looks like he's had a spin, and that's why it looks like extra damage on the Williams. As Kaname's just dropped it into the wall. No, not Kaname, Newman. As Blunty's actually already got past the lapped car of lucky high one, which isn't ideal for them. Regardless of that, it's still possible to hang on. He ain't deploying, nor is the Alpine, to be fair. As Newman is off again, he's got back going though. As you see there, the other Aston on Sheck is catching. As now we just sit and wait until the next opportunity to overtake, which is probably turn 3. It's a difficult opportunity, but it's executable if Alpha Gali can get close enough, which, based off that gap, I think it is. As Kaname gets up into P8 now. He's doing a really good recovery drive from 15th, I think it was, as Konami gets a 3-second penalty for track limits, which is a label for multiple warnings in this, as Lemmy and Brower are both in the pits, only lap 7, so it looks like they are looking for the 2-stopper here, as Brower goes on to the hards, and Lemmy also goes on to hards, which is an interesting choice as Milu goes and also exceeds track limits for a 3rd time, getting his 3rd strike, and therefore a 3-second penalty. Basically a second to strike. But yeah, now Gully in a really good place, less than 2 temps behind, and now DRS flicks open for the Alpine. Here, I believe it is, yeah. And now he's already alongside, but there goes CPI. CPI's got ahead of them both and does a lovely double overtake into turn whatever it is. All I know is it's the final breaking point of the lap. But yeah. Will Blunty now have a look at Gully? Just poke your nose down the inside or poke it around the outside and you've got a really good position to capitalise in. But they will play it sensible. No guns blazing at the moment. That will hopefully come later on as everyone wants to win. It looks like it will be a 5-way fight between CPI, Gully, Blunty, Cully and Micromash as Gully moves back into 1st. As off goes the Merc of Infinity, who is now back up and running, which is showing us a really poor weekend as the Alpine of Gully locks up, goes very deep, and Blunty and CPI are now both up ahead as Cully's just hit Micromash, probably as a repercussion of Gully's driving through the chicane, of course, locking up, getting very tight, meaning he'll have to go wide, and that just causes a whole lot of mess on the exit. As now, who's going to get it? I think Blunty will actually be leading onto lap 9 for us, as the DRS now gets opened from all 4 of them. It kind of looks like a snake which just keeps changing colours. It's almost like Snake.io. As Micromash promotes himself up into 4 does he? Contact between him and the Red Bull prevents it, as Micromash basically spins on the apex briefly, but gets back up and running. As Gully now starting to basically put his car all over Blunty in the Aston, really trying to get the move done, as it ain't good to just be sitting behind a bunch of cars. So Cully probably in the worst position at the moment for his tyres, as Botham should be in an optimal place, as Newman pits for McLaren. He's dropping down. Where will he come out though? Will he be ahead of Brower or behind him? Because that was his battle area before the car pitted. And it proves to be the overcut is stronger than the undercut, as Brower does not get ahead, unless it was because of Infinity. As there's Micromash now just sitting back in the distance. Tropic could easily come back into this race if these front runners keep fighting, or he goes for an interesting strategy call as Gully moves up to 2nd. Will they go for it on the Red Bull? They're gaining. They are also going to look at it and ahead before braking. Lovely does it by the Alpine, as it's now Alpine back on top, which probably won't last for long, as you've seen how much it's changing, as Cully and Micromash both come in here. They've called it time, and now they're going to try and make a move or two through the undercut, but it's all down to where they come out. I think they will come out just ahead of Rumax and just behind of Konami, but by looks of it, there's Konami. Konami is ahead of the Alpine, but behind the Red Bull of Cully. So that's going to be interesting for Micromash's chances, could this be the win handed to the Red Bull on a silver platter now, as they've been set free and they've got a fresh piece of track ahead? Because I thoroughly think that's why Brower couldn't make a further jump on Newman, because of the hold up due to the car ahead. So with the free air for the Red Bull, they could be setting really good sectors and therefore putting a dent into the top three, who look to be separating now, as Gully's very close to pulling a second on CPI, maybe showing tyre wear is much more skyrocketing for the Red Bull when compared to the Alpine, as Brower now gets a 3-second time penalty, and Blunty comes in to try and cover the Red Bull. I think it's too late. Cully doesn't really have to push on his outlap, just get temp into tyres and he should be ahead. But now limping out the pits is the Aston. There's Cully though. There's the Aston. They've just hit pit exit, as round the outside is the Red Bull. Is he going to make it? No, he's just behind Blunty. That is literally going to be the big factor in this race now, as Milo laps the mark. And now I'm pretty sure Gully is going to have to try and do something, because he's on the hards. He will have to try and make it to about lap 14 and then pit, meaning he could forfeit a lot out of this. And CPI will probably be looking to pit this lap and going to the end on the hards, because why not? But then it's all a matter of fact, will Blunty be ahead or will it be CPI? Because that's changing as the corners go by. It's really about Delta, but it looks like for the most half it will be Blunty, as Micromash moves himself up against Konami, kind of puts his podium chances away after all that hold up, after a incorrect pit exit placement. Not a penalty, but kind of is. He's been punished for it, for pitting and coming out in the wrong place. But yeah, he is coming to the pit exit, and again the undercut not proving to be powerful enough, as the Aston is behind, as the Mercedes spun but ghosted, as the lapped cars get ghosted. And that's a lucky high one again, really on a low one though, as now we might as well view the gap to leader. It's about, I'd say, 16.5 seconds for an undercut, as CPI was right on top of Gully when CPI pitted, and they're about 17 seconds apart. So I'd say about 16.5 is needed to be ahead, which currently isn't being done, as the hards really show to have some pace still on them, as Tropic up to P2, but still quite out of par, 9 seconds off lead. If he was to pit, it'd be about P7 behind Konami, who is also yet to pit. But that's really what happens with the inverted strategy. You come out ahead of the cars behind, as Blunty's got ahead of the Red Bull. Could Red Bull do a strategical swap places, because CPR's on brand new tyres, whereas Cully has actual temp into them? But now Blunty's on a charge. He looks like he could now undercut Alpha Gully, as he sets the fastest lap of the race of 32.4. Big gains, as off goes an Aston of Sheck. Of course, it ain't Blunty, as we are on board with him, and they aren't in the final corner, as Brower overtakes Rumax, as Lemmy also overtakes Newman, just showing up behind, I believe. Or is that Micromash and Konami? I think it's actually Micromash and Konami, as Newman gets a 3-second penalty for track limits again, as Blunty is now definitely going to be your new race leader, probably showing that the hards are now falling apart for the leader, especially. And now it's coming into the Aston and Red Bull's favour, as the Red Bulls are also gaining, just trying to hang on against the Aston, who is on some miraculous pace setting at the moment. As through the final chicane, really, of the lap, will Gully pit? No, he will power on, try and get a tyre delta in his favour, and then go guns blazing in the final stint, which is decreasing as the laps go by, meaning there will be more pressure on the Alpine to try and make a move as we get closer to the end. As in comes Tropic, in comes the Haas, as you can see there, the Aston locks up, and then Thingy gets moved. Then he's got back going, as Tropic now comes out behind Kaname, and kind of in his own freeland. You can say Mr. Hollywood will be looking to pit again, because 11 laps so far, and you still need another 11 to go. Meaning, if you aren't managing your tyres well, you will be on a cliff edge come the final lap. Puncture territory will probably be around lap 20 for those pitting early on. So John Sheck, Mr. Hollywood, and Kaname and Gully probably looking at about 5 more laps, but Lemmy has now retired after getting a 10-second penalty for speeding into pit lane. He's had all his hopes shattered, and now he's given, as Blunty now within 15 seconds of the Alpine. Is the Alpine going to pit though? No. They power on another lap. Surely they want to pit on lap 15 and then go 10 laps on the mediums and ace it in the final stint. But currently it looks like he should come out right behind that Red Bull of Cully, who we can see is just behind the lead squabble. As Brower now onto the main straight with Rumax, and then I think it's Infinity. No, it's actually Lucky High One, as Rumax moves himself up into 11th with 4 lap fresher tyres than the V-Carb. As we go back to the single file formation, it's a very dull circuit in terms of racing, in my opinion. The only place you can really do it is final straight. But yeah, Newman's got back up and running. Gully now going down the Las Vegas Strip, as the Aston is stripping time away from him. They are catching almost at 14 seconds. Well, basically there, but not yet to crack that margin. Surely the Alpine is to pit now. Yes, in comes the Alpine from the lead, as Botham or CPI will take into provisional first. As there's Gully, he's just turned into his pit box. There's the Red Bull. Gully back driving. As there's the leaders. There's Gully though. He's actually in a really good position, respectively, regarding how he's just been on hards, and they're on brand spanking new ones. So he hasn't actually forfeited too much. Yes, he's 3 seconds behind, but hopefully now on the mediums he should show the pace to catch the leaders with efficiency, as there's about 9 more laps of this race to unravel, as it's now a 3-horse race for the time being. However, it can easily be a 4-horse race after lap 17, as you already see Gully in the Delta is making a debt. As currently Konami is our highest gainer, P7, but yet to pit. When they pit, they should be about P9, but still our highest gainer with 6 places gained in this race. Gully is our highest loser with 3 places lost, and then his teammate netting that average out to 0, as they've also gained 3 from 8th from the grid. As it's a virtual safety car, I can't tell what's happened to cause it. Probably something in this area. Was it a Mercedes? No. Oh, it was Newman. They've gone off, hit the wall, and now major front wing damage. That's going to be the cause, and that neutralises race. Helps out the leaders for tyre wear. Cools them down a bit, and therefore reduces wear. But then also Gully massively aided because his tyres will still be fresh, and it's a big opportunity for the leaders to gain battery. Alongside Gully as Micromash doing something I've never seen before, getting a penalty under VSC for pushing too much, as DRS is now back available. And that is perfect timing really for Blunty. They managed to optimise their delta and get fairly close to CPI. And now it's a question, what can they do down the Las Vegas Strip? DRS will be enabled for both the Aston and Red Bull, as they now hit the zone now. Is it going to be enough though? I don't think it's enough, as Newman's onto the softs, maybe looking at a fastest lap attempt. But question is, will Gully be able to beat it? I think he will, as he's now within 2 seconds of Cully. It's massive gains now for the Alpine. He knows it's no time to mess about now, as Blunty catching CPI bot. Will he get the lead though? I actually don't think Blunty will get the lead. Again, well, I'll take my words back before I spit them out. But yeah, Blunty into the lead. I was going to say he ain't going to get lead until Strip, but yeah, he's done it. He's done it in style, nice and early. As Gully starting to drop back a tiny bit, but now through the chicane he will gain massively, about half a second on him. As the Alpine really showing some pace at his strength. Of course, man on pole. Down in P4. Seven tenths up in the middle. Is that going to be fastest lap territory? I don't think so quite yet, but they're getting perilously close to getting within the DRS range of the top 3. And when that happens, boy, we are going to have a party for the final few laps. 3 cars all raring at it, but CPI has had a really poor final half of the lap, as Blunty now back at a stage where he's dropping the ball, as Blunty sets a new fastest lap, but Gully will reassure the Aston that the race is still on, as he improves, only by a tenth or so, but it's still improvement, which is important for the most half, as we see him pushing down, get a lovely shot of the Red Bulls going through the 3rd corner, and then again the Alpine gaining. Another lock-up for the 2 Red Bulls. They are equidistantly expanding, as there's a massive snap by Cully. That's going to really put Gully in a great place. Sorry for unintentional rhyming, but yeah, similar names. As a Merc has gone off again. That's just going to become a laughing joke, as Newman lets a bunch of the leaders by, even though having softs on. Just shows he still ain't got the pace. As there's Gully. Will Gully do it? He's gaining down the straight before DRS, and now he's got DRS as he starts to pull alongside, and will just breeze by, and that will also help him gain a tenth or two on CPI. As he now chucks it through, this is really his race for the taking, and it's arguably his to lose, as it's 1.5 to P2, 1.7 to first. As Newman sped in the pit lane, looks like he could be retiring or taking a new set of softs. But yeah, for Gully, he really needs to do something, as Newman has retired from session. Infinity, I'm pretty sure, should be joining him soon, but only 3 seconds. All I can say is thank you to the Mercedes for persevering, because yeah, they are back too. And they aren't really getting anywhere compared to the cars ahead. They are dropping from each other, and then dropping from P12, who's ultimately dropping from first. So yeah, there's no gains for them. As Gully now enters DRS range of second place, as Cully is still yet to do so. Purple middle sector for Gully as well. Looks like it will be fastest lap coming his way in these dying embers. As there goes CPI on Blunty, who's really having like a bipolar race. He's showing some stages where he's quicker than everyone else, but then there's also some stages where he's slower than the top 5, like the others in top 5. He's just really biding his time in how he races. He pushes for a brief period and then saves a lot for him next. As there goes Gully, 2 fastest man of the race again, and now within 6 tenths of first. If he wanted to, he could probably get them both into the, like, down the Las Vegas Strip. But is he gonna take them one by one yet? As Blunty gets close, but not close enough to beat Tom. I'll just say that, as Cully gets a 3-second penalty for track limits. That's his race done and dusted, basically. Well, he was dropping off like a fly. Well, that's just confirmed it, really. As there's Hollywood, who has just found his way up on Kaname. And we go back to the leaders, because this is really the only tight battle on track. And it's been that way since lap 1. So now Gully. He's got DRS on Blunty, who's got DRS on CPI. As Lucky has also had a moment in turn 1 again. CPI, he's got his job, and he's got to defend 3 wide. As Gully goes down the inside, but won't overtake. Even though I said he should be able to do it into the final braking point, he won't, and now the Aston's over him to try and regain that 3rd place. Battery burning for the Aston is clear, but just not enough top speed to get the Alpine as of yet. And now surely Gully, who is really shoving that Red Bull round the corners. To be fair, the Aston doing the same thing. Looking for a move now, as Gully's basically opened up a door for Blunty. As they've crashed, Blunty and CPI have crashed, and that's just gave Gully the lead, which now on the mediums, his job's done with 3 laps to go. He doesn't have to fight back, as CPI basically goes off track to hold on to a position. Surely that should be returned, but who knows? As long as it gets returned by the end of the lap, I'm assuming it should be okay with the stewards of this league. But there will be some unhappy faces of Blunty, as he will have to force his way back by. Hopefully with DRS down here. As DRS now opens, as CPI drops back in. Is this Gully's way to basically help defend against Blunty by aiding CPI? And then also putting Cully onto Blunty, making it a 3-car challenge to defend, maybe? Or is he thinking of the team and possibly going to try and push Micro Mash up towards him? But either way, it's very risky, as Red Bull and Aston both look down the inside of the Alpine. However, the Aston still hanging on through the second corner around the outside. DRS now in play for the Alpine because it was behind at the detection ever so slightly, and that's just played out a treat for the Alpine as they hang on to the lead for a tiny bit longer. Snap of oversteer on the exit, just very subtle, but anyways, that's surely the win decided for the Alpine. But who knows really, because for all we know, CPI could do something and win. I'm not jinxing anything, but it's a possibility with how this race is going so far. The top 3 are just so inseparable. Maybe it's the Alpine as he now basically burned up his tyres and now has to defend for his life. As you see there, CPI and Blunty harvesting. And now the Alpine's harvesting through DRS. There goes CPI down the inside of the Aston, and he's also going to go for it on the Alpine, but a bit too late, a day late and a dollar short there, as Martin Brundle would say. And he can only get 1 place. The battle continues, however. Red Bull now shoving the Alpine through. He tried looking to the outside, but the Aston was like, nope, I'm taking that, thank you very much. And he's got the place. As there's a Sauber of, I'm assuming it's Melu regarding there, the one ahead, who's gone off. Yes, it is. As Rumax now moves up into P9. And still this lead battle continues. It's very unclear who's going to win, but I'm still putting my money on the man I put it on at the start of the race, Gully, because he's played it amazingly with the tyre wear management through the first stint, having the hards on, going that extra mile or 2, and then just being able to absolutely obliterate the mediums in the final stint and going from about 3 seconds off the lead in a very tight gap between top 4 in terms of raw pace to then be leading by lap 22, which is only about 6 laps into his stint. And then he should have that pace to hang on for another 2 DRS zones, or at least I wish, because the Aston now has DRS, so does the Red Bull. The Aston's gaining, but so is CPI. CPI's kind of locked the Aston in to the outside. Therefore, there's no progress made for the Aston, but now look at how close they get to the Alpine. As the Red Bull's going for it, they're 3 abreast to start the final lap. It's literally whoever can get ahead before the finish line will win. As the Merc has gone off, that's going to be a crucial part of this race to decide if they keep messing up. But regardless, now all the swords are out, all slashing each other, trying to take one another down. As CPI's gone for it, the Alpine no DRS, and now Cully surely should have got it there. As Blunty will hang on, they're still will to will, the Red Bull and Aston, who have had contact only 2 laps ago, remember, so surely as they're both showing aggression, they make contact. As the Red Bulls had a moment, probably caught up from the Alpine, who is all over the back of them. As the other Red Bull now having a look at the Alpine and the Aston, is literal dogfighting here. It's like 2 toddlers just going at each other as the Alpine's gone down the inside, jolted over the curb, hit the Aston, and now it looks like it's CPI to win. Unless the Alpine burns because he's got about half his battery, and then the Aston also burns. The Alpine's burning, the Aston isn't, Red Bull's defending, and there goes Gully down the inside. The Red Bull's round and the Aston's into the wall, and the Alpine's gone round for good measure, and Cully will win. Cully will win in Las Vegas. Boy oh boy, I did not expect that. But fair play to the Red Bull. He will win, then Blunty, then CPI, and unfortunately, Alpha Gully completely misses out on the podium after dropping it final corner. Wow. Just wow. After all that, the man with a 3-second penalty and at the back of that 4-car queue ends up winning somehow. Basically saying he's pulled out 3 seconds in 2 corners, but makes sense regarding all the contact made between Blunty, CPI and Gully. 3 wide in the final corner, and they were 3 wide basically across the line. So you knew it weren't going to work out because they were all guns blazing and all wanting to win. And in the end, none of them got it. So that's a lesson for you all to learn. Don't throw everything at it. Especially in a race like this, you're better off securing second, which Blunty ended up doing. But yeah, the Red Bull, no one would have thought would win, especially onto the final lap, regarding being 4th and with a 3-second penalty on his hands. Goes to win. Cully will win. Kaname drive of the day. Great drive from the McLaren. Heavily under rated that race for him. Of course, being on a different strategy, going a bit longer, but still racing it. As there is Cully, Blunty, and then CPI all on the podium. But man, I don't know what to say apart from Gully, CPI and Blunty must all be very annoyed about the way the race has ended. Maybe a bit more open-hearted for the Red Bull of CPI, because it's still a race win for the constructor. But yeah, CPI, Gully, Micromash, Tropic, Mr. Hollywood, Konami, Nilu, Rumax, Race Brower, John Sheck, Infinity, Lucky High One, who didn't have a good race at all, Newman, Lemmy, and then Harriman. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed this race. It kept you on the toes. I'll give them that. They kept you on your toes. But yeah, I'll see you all later. Goodbye.